Well, again, welcome everyone and happy belated New Year from AMS. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the beginning of our 2024 seminar series. I'm Jonathan Plett. I am the president of the Australasian Mycological Society. And it is my distinct pleasure of welcoming Romina Gazis today, who is going to be our very first speaker of the year. So Romina is a mycologist and assistant professor at the University of Florida, where she works with a lot of different end users to disseminate science-based recommendations for horticulture production, as well as disease and pest management. And if you look at her publication record, she spans a whole lot of different areas of speciality, from phylogeny and tree of life studies to biocontrol and biorational treatment of plant diseases, and genomics and diagnostic assay creation, which is so very important. So today she's going to be talking to us today about her experiences in tropical plant pathology. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Romina. Thank you.
Thank you. So can you hear me? Fine, everything is good. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Good morning to you. Good night to me. It's 8 p.m. here in the East Coast of the United States. And I'm very happy to be here to be the first webinar of the year. So happy New Year to you guys too. So my name is Romina Gazis. I'm an associate professor and extension specialist with the University of Florida. I am in the plant pathology department, and I'm based at the Tropical Research and Education Center. So as it was mentioned before, I'm a plant pathologist. I'm also a diagnostician. So I'm the director of the plant diagnostic clinic here at the center. And I specialize on diseases of tropical fruit trees and tropical ornamental crops. I have a split appointment. I have a 60% extension and 40% research, and I'm considered an extension state specialist, which what means is that anybody across the state that has a problem with tropical plants can come to me, and it's my duty to help them. So this is what is being part of the land grant university. And so these are some photos of me in action. I am always running around nurseries, orchards, either killing trees or planting trees to kill, so I can start understanding the mechanisms of disease and trying to find solutions to those diseases. I have multiple ongoing applied research projects on minor crops, such as avocado, citrus, dragon fruit, mango, and passion fruit. And so, as it was mentioned before, I'm kind of like a generalist. So I like multiple groups of fungi. I like multiple types of ecosystems and multiple types of host pathogen relationships, right? And so I started, like many of you, loving fungi and trying to uncover and document their diversity and their ecological role in natural ecosystems. So that was at the beginning of my career. Then I started to work on more of the plant-associated fungi and did my PhD on endophytes. And the idea was to search for biological control agents that can be used to manage two very important diseases, one affecting rubber trees and the other one affecting cocoa trees. And then I kind of got into this taxonomic nomenclature, phylogenetics world, and did a lot of computer type of research, trying to put together these tree of life, of course, the fungal side of it. So I was a postdoc at David Hibbett Lab for 3 years working on this wonderful project. But then I realized that I really like the field, and I really like to manipulate the organism that I'm working on. And so I made the move into forest pathology, and later on, I was able to get this position as a tropical plant pathologist. And so today I'm presenting from all the way, far away land of Florida. pretty much the other side of the world. And I am located in the tip of Florida, in southern Florida, at the entrance of the Florida Keys, where it's always sunny and warm. The rest of the country, like you can see in this little figure in the slide, you can see that the rest of the country is having really low temperatures, but southern Florida, especially the Miami area, keeps it warm. And so today I'm speaking to you from this area. So in Homestead, where the station is located, the station is called Tropical Research and Education Center, and is the only state university research center that focuses on tropical and subtropical crops and natural resources. The center has 160 acres and holds several collections of avocado, mango, and other important fruit crops. We have 17 faculty members that spans from water sciences to entomologists to plant physiologists to a lot of these different disciplines. So every department at the university has a representative in this research station. So we really have we addresses problems in a holistic way, right? Because we have all these different expertise. And so kind of doing a zoom into the area, this is how it looks. It is a patchy area full of nurseries and groves or orchards and urban areas and natural parks. So, you know, as you probably know, Florida is a gateway for invasive species, and we always are battling these invasive species. And it's because we have such a diversity of crops and also so multicultural, right? So people from different parts of the world with their own love for plants and animals that they want to bring from their home country. So as you know, humans move these invasive species pretty well. And in a lot of cases, it's not just because of the industry. Sometimes it's the people themselves, individual people that are moving these plants because they grew up with these plants and they want to have it in their garden. So that's how we get all of these different invasive species. So this area is a hot spot because of the diversity of crops and the mild weather, right? This is my lab, and we are a bunch of people that like to work on topics related to plant health in horticultural crops and natural ecosystems. And if you want to follow us, our updates, our papers, you can follow us in Twitter, and then you can look for the publications in Google Scholar, and you can follow my lab and the diagnostic lab. And so today I'm gonna talk a little bit about how is the horticulture industry here in South Florida, about the plant diagnostic clinic and the role that we play in the green industry, how us as mycologists can work in plant pathology, and how we already advocate for plant health and ecosystem health. And I'm gonna really just give you a summary of what's going on with avocados, because you guys also produce avocados over there, and I think this is important for you to know. So when you think about South Florida, you probably think about tropical plants and beautiful palms and tropical fruits and golf courses, which Floridians really like. And all of that is true. And it is also a paradise for plant pathologists and for mycologists that like to work especially on pathogens. And so, as I mentioned before, our climate is quite different than the rest of the country. So we have the crops that we have are very similar to the ones in the Caribbean or the ones in tropical Asia. And so we have more in common with those countries than within our own country, right? And so these warm temperatures that are year round, we usually don't have any frost here in South Florida. However, there has been some events in the past, but I think more than a decade that we haven't gotten any frost. We have high precipitation, and warm temperatures and high precipitation definitely give the opportunities for a wide, broad, lot of variety of crops. However, that's also, as you know, very conducive environment for disease development. So we have high disease and pest pressure. In addition, South Florida has multiple international ports, airports, and seaports. We have natural disturbances such as hurricanes, and hurricanes can move a lot of these detrimental pests and pathogens. And so there is a high likelihood of establishment because of this mild weather, right? If you think about it, if a pathogen arrives to Iowa in the middle of the winter, it's just going to die as soon as it leaves the airport, right? However, in Florida, it would just thrive, right? Because we have just gorgeous weather most of the time. And so these invasive species cost the state $100 million per year, and probably now is even more than that estimate that was from a few years ago. So it's quite costly, the damage that these species cause. So the horticulture industry really faces a lot of challenges. As I mentioned, we have high disease pressure, we have high pest pressure, we have high weed pressure, and the wildlife that is always kind of damaging the crops because they also want a piece of those delicious fruit. And so these are photos of here of the fruit and plants that we produce here. So again, there's a lot of challenges. And disease is one of the most important limiting factors because the grower has to invest not only in fungicides, insecticides, fertilizers to keep that plant health going. But it also has to invest in scouting, so paying people to go and scout their orchards or their nurseries. And so disease can really impact the grower's profit. And this is even more important because we grow crops that are not native to our area. And so even if the conditions are similar, like temperature and humidity, still we have calcareous soils, we have flooding, we have storms. And so the plants that we want to grow because people like to eat and because we can grow it because there's okay temperature, they are still stressed, right? Because they are not adapted to this area. So in those cases, disease can really play an important role in limiting growers' profits. Nevertheless, South Florida has an amazing horticultural industry, and these are photos of nurseries in the area. So just, few blocks away from the center. We produce a lot of ferns and succulents and mandevillas and hibiscus. And so it's just really, really nice horticultural industry. We are #1 now in the country for the production of ornamentals, especially tropical foliage. If you see any monstera, any ficus, any of those plants, tropical plants in a TV show, probably comes from here because we ship all of these plants to the Northeast, to the West, to Canada. And so we are really the providers of these kind of plants. We also have an amazing diversity of tropical fruits. And I'm sure you have some of those over there because you also have subtropical weather in some areas. And these are minor crops. And when I say minor crops, I really mean minor crops. So we are talking about between 20 to a few hundred acres. But these are very valuable crops, right? Because of their nutrient content, because you cannot get them anywhere else. And a lot of them, you cannot import them as fresh fruit. So even if it's small scale, this is very important for the state and for the country. All right, so because the agricultural industry and the green industry in general is so important for the state, and the University of Florida is a land-grant university, we need to address the public needs, right? So we need to make research-based integrated plant health programs, and these need to be available to growers through extension and outreach activities. So the main three goals of the land-grant university is to do research, teaching, and extension, right? Extension and outreach depends on the audience, is kind of the same idea of translating and passing that information to the public. And these are just some photos of the activities that we do. Some of them with students, some of them with growers, some of them in the field, some of them in the lab. And so, as you well know, the first step for implementing an integrated pest management is to identify what's the problem, right? So you need to know what is the disease, what is the causal organism of the plant decline, so you can address it. Because if you don't know what it is, you don't know what to use to address it, right? And so it's a critical point step in this flow chart of how to address the problem. So diagnostics are very important, and they are critical, central to plant health. So because the university recognizes this, the University of Florida has 6 different plant diagnostic clinics, which one of them is called a center because it's larger, it's kind of like the mothership for the rest of the clinics. And so each of the clinic specializes in different crops because we are a very diverse state. So you have, for instance, the clinic in the West Coast that specializes on strawberries because we have a really important strawberry industry. The clinic at the center also focuses more on blueberries. We also have a good blueberry industry. My clinic is the one at the south, which kind of is just chaos. It's just crazy because we see so many crops, and we cannot really specialize on anything, really. We have a lot of crops. But when we talk about tropical fruits, we do kind of have a set of species that we work on, such as passion fruit, dragon fruit, guava, avocado, of course. And so we have several diagnostic clinics supporting this mission of providing extension research and teaching resources. So this is the clinic. It's a little bit like a village clinic, I like to call it, because we are not very fancy. So we do have some molecular testing and some of the more sophisticated testing. However, most of the samples are processed by using microscopy, by using cultural methods, and by experience. So this is how it looks. Sometimes it looks like a turf clinic, depends on the season. Sometimes it looks like a palm clinic. And so depends on the season, we have an increase of certain type of crops. Nevertheless, there is no low season there because there is production year round. And we receive around 1,300 samples per year. This is the team. So I am the director. I'm also the lead diagnostician, and I make the diagnosis and the recommendations and the reporting to the clients. So I'm pretty busy faculty member. Then we have Shelby, who is the laboratory manager, and then we have Maria Lugo, who is the laboratory assistant. And again, we do a lot of microscopy, we do a lot of plating, moist chambers. And so I have learned through this job so much about mycology diversity, especially, of course, pathogens and saprotrophs. than I did in the past. So it's a great job for mycologists as well. I had to diversify my skills. I knew nothing about parasitic algae, about mites, about weevils, about nematodes, and even about bacteria and viruses, right? I took plant pathology when I was in college and during my graduate studies. I knew a little bit because I work on biological control. However, I had no experience in a lot of things that a plant pathologist should know. So it was a really steep learning curve at the beginning, but very exciting and very challenging as well. So we do have support from entomologists. There are 3 entomologists at the station, 1 for each type of crop. So 1 for ornamentals, 1 for vegetables, and 1 for tropical fruits. And then I work really closely with the horticulturists because a lot of the problems have root on abiotic stressors or bad cultural practices. So I do work with him very closely to provide solutions. So these are kind of the type of crops that we get. Ornamental is a big part of the plants that we get at the clinic, but we also get turf, palms, tropical fruits, non-plant material like mushrooms or sometimes potting soil. And the commercial ornamental nurseries are our biggest clients. Usually we work with container nurseries, so the ones that grow the plants in pots. However, we do work with field nurseries, which means that they put the palms, let's say, on the field, directly onto the ground, and then they sell those palms either to resorts or to new developments or even across the state if they have to transport those big, already grown trees. So the plant clinic is a critical component of the agricultural system. It's really central. And probably I'm biased because I'm the director of the clinic. But I do think that we interact with everybody within the green industry, right? With chemical companies by providing chemical recommendations, by testing pesticides for efficacy. We interact, of course, with the students of university and colleges in the area. Even high schoolers come to the clinic to learn about plant health, food security, and so on. So I'm trying to really push this recognition by the state and the county managers so we can get more support. So this is a slide I made just to kind of get them to understand that if we don't know what the problem is, we are not going to be able to solve it. And sometimes diagnostics is not as valued as other type of extension or research work. So I'm trying to push this idea. And this is an example on how we can amplify the impact. So let's say that we get a grower that has a problem with their crop, let's say tomatoes, right? And we do accurate and timely diagnostics. So, and we offer recommendations. So this grower is going to solve the plant health issue at hand. That's number 1, direct impact. And it's also going to avoid unnecessary use of inappropriate pesticides, reducing costs and environmental harm, right? Those are the direct impacts. But we are also going to impact the whole industry. Why? Because that grower is going to buy the correct pesticide to the chemical company, which is local. He's going to be happy with the chemical company because he or she is buying something that is going to work. And that is just moving the industry, right? That tomato grower is going to perhaps they sell the plants to Walmart or to Home Depot, and these plants are sold to homeowners that want to grow tomatoes in their backyards. And so the homeowner is going to be happy because it's going to get a plant that is healthy to begin with, and is likely going to keep growing plants and keep valuing gardening. And so the whole industry is going to be impacted in a good way. So this impact goes beyond the laboratory. We really are keen in sharing what we learned and getting people excited about plant pathology, about mycology, about food systems. And so we do a lot of seminars and workshops, either to students, let's say, more sophisticated with computers and doing, some lab work. But we also target landscapers, pest control companies. This group actually I am really interested in targeting, because these are the people that are in the field, the people that will see the damage and will identify invasive species sooner than I am sitting in my lab waiting for somebody to come with a sample, right? These people are on the grounds. One of the things that I love about my job is the client interaction. So I love to talk to people and go to the field and talk to the growers. Here you can see some images of my lab showing the growers how to do, how to test for virus in propagative material. So this is a passion fruit nursery. And then we also sometimes invite the grower into the lab. And, here's my colleague during COVID time, trying to explain to the grower what we have found in his samples. We also do more intensive seminars and workshops. So some of them can last one morning or one day. Some of them can last 3 days, like this one that we recently did on laurel wilt. And this one was in Spanish. I'm originally from Peru, so my native tongue is Spanish. And we work a lot with Hispanic population. So my program is bilingual. We also do educational tours. So these are master gardeners. I don't know if you guys in Australia have these kind of programs, but it's a beautiful program that homeowners can enroll, and they learn a lot of things about gardening and a lot of things about plant health. And one of the days, one of the modules is plant health. So they come to the clinic and we explain to them what we do. And here is my lab manager talking to a group coming from Haiti and just explaining to them how do we help to keep food systems going. We also describe new taxa, and I think this is going to be of interest to you. So I wish I have more time, and I wish I have more resources to have a person to describe new diseases, new species of fungi and other organisms. And it's really a good place to be to do this kind of work. Unfortunately, I don't have much time, but we were able to describe this new genus and new species of sequestrate agaricoid. So it's not a truffle, but it has the habit of a truffle. We also report new diseases. This one was new disease on aroids. I think it's actually in Australia. But in any case, there was a new report for the continent. And so, we have to do coach postulates and we have to do all that work. So it definitely takes time and effort. But if we don't do the report, if we don't report the disease formally, then we cannot access resources to either find practical solutions or to understand perhaps more deep questions, right? So we have to report the disease before we ask for resources. So this is something that I really try to promote in my lab. We also generate rating scales. These ones are for Cercospora, spot on avocado, and scab on avocado. And so we do this so we can use them when we rate efficacy of pesticides or when we communicate with colleagues. And so colleagues also have this reference for them to have a standardized way of classifying disease severity. We create educational material. And this one, you can see a kit that we put together for detecting laurel wilt using molecular tools. And the other photo shows some of the material that I took to a seminar or a workshop on this new rust affecting aroids. So if you want to kind of have an example of how this disease diagnostic guide looks, you can go to this one on laurel wilt affecting avocado, and it's a pretty neat detailed diagnostic guide. So it's open access, and this is kind of what we do. This one is for avocado scab. So the same idea, we really try to provide in one document all we know about its morphology, how it looks on the host, phenotypic variability, how to isolate, how to do pathogenicity tests, how to store the pathogen. So we can keep working on this using standardized methods. So we also do fungicide efficacy trials, and this is something that I struggle at the beginning because I come from a mycology background. So I want to understand the fungus, right? I want to know more about it. I want to, study the fungus. I don't necessarily want it to kill it, right? However, when I took this position, I understood how important is to have several lines of defense. And chemical defense will be a good one and a first one, right? Then we can have time to look for biological control agents, for natural enemies, for cultural practices, maybe invest in genetic resistant or tolerance to diseases. But the first line is chemical tools, right? And we have to provide to the grower multiple options so the grower can rotate these pesticides and we avoid resistance in populations of pathogens. So even though I struggle at the beginning, I have to say that I really like it now, and it just brings me joy to see new products showing efficacy and that are safe to use to the farmer, for the host. They're safe as well. And we add residue testing. So once we show efficacy and crop safety, we have to show that this pesticide does not accumulate on the fruit, right? Because food safety is, of course, number one. And so we also generate resources for growers, like these extension publications, which are kind of like simple version of research papers. And so any diagnostician, any student, any grower will be able to understand. And even us as scientists can understand this kind of publication from different fields, right? So I can read one from the entomology or the horticulturist, and I don't really need to be really familiar with the topic. These are very simple publications to read. I really want to make the plant diagnostic clinic the center of information for growers, and we kind of are. Sometimes people come in either homeowners or landscapers or even growers, just asking if we knew something about something, right? So we always provide information. We print documents for them. I try to advertise all of these invasive species so they are aware. One example is the spotted lanternfly, which you probably heard is spreading through the US, causing a lot of damage to woody plants. And so we don't have it in Florida, but I want to raise awareness to report if they see something. We also work together with the government for regulations. So it is my duty as a diagnostician and as a leader of the plant diagnostic clinic to report these observations, right? So if somebody comes and their plant is being affected by a regulated organism, it is my duty, and I don't like this part of the job, but it is my duty to call the state, and that nursery may get close. So it depends on the regulated agent. Sometimes they get quarantined, sometimes they have to destroy their plants. But I try to have a really close relationship with them so they understand where I'm coming from. And so again, we do a lot of work, and the impact is it's really it's very impactful, because we are talking about thousands of plants, right? Somebody comes with one plant, and then I ask how many plants are sick, and they can tell me 1,000, 10,000 or more. So it's a lot of pressure, but I enjoy the work. And then we always have to be open. We pushed through the pandemic. We just had to receive the samples outside, and we had a whole protocol, right? But we kept open. We have an impact not only across the state, but also across the region. And I work together with other subtropical areas. Global warming, places are getting warmer temperatures, and crops are migrating north. So I'm communicating with states that can now grow tropical fruits. And I hope that I can help other countries as much as I can. So just to go fast, because I definitely talk too much. So you can be also a plant pathologist, or you can work in plant health, right? Why? Because fungi causes the majority of diseases, and this is no different to us. This is a breakdown of 5,000 samples, and as you can see, most of them are caused by fungi. This is an example of the variety of beautiful symptoms that fungi causes on fruits. And again, I'm a mycologist, but I guess I was always kind of a pathologist underneath, because I really can see the beauty of the symptoms that these pathogens cause on their host. If you like saprotrophs, the nurseries are really a wonderful place to find saprotrophic fungi. And they are causing a lot of problems in nurseries, and there's not a lot of solutions. So if you are looking for a career path, let me tell you that this is a good one. If you like a mutualist, like I do, you can also think about plant health in terms of mycorrhizae, and in terms of establishing urban forests, or reestablishing these natural patches of forests in urban areas. I also work with biological control agents. I'm doing a lot of research on trichoderma, and so just when we think about plant health, I think about more like in a holistic way. So I'm trying to find these biological control agents that can help us solve some of these problems. And so finally, I don't want to leave this short. Avocado is just such a amazing crop. Their demand is growing by the minute. Everybody wants to grow avocado, produce avocado, and eat avocado. So consumption has increased and keeps increasing. And production keeps increasing to cover this demand. I don't know if you know, but in Florida, we grow what we call slimcados, or tropical avocados, which are these humongous avocados. And you can feed a family for lunch with one of them. And so we don't grow the Hass that you are accustomed to. Those are grown in California. Now we are kind of getting into Hass, but we are mainly a region for tropical avocados. And so avocado can be affected by many diseases: scab, dieback, anthracnose, root rot, Botrys fieria, branch dieback, you name it. There's a lot of pests and diseases. However, None of them is as devastated as laurel wilt. And this disease was found in Florida avocado production area in 2012. So a little bit more than 10 years ago. And so far, it has killed 300,000 avocado trees, probably more. You can see how the orchards have been devastated. All of those empty spaces are because of laurel wilt. What is laurel wilt? It's a disease complex, but the causal agent is a fungus named Harringtonia lauricola. It was formerly named Rafaela lauricola, but now it changed genus. And it's a vascular pathogen in the Ophius stomatalis that causes the production of tylosis and gums and really blocks the vascular system, preventing the water to move. So pretty much choking the host tree. However, it's a reaction of the host to the invasion, what is causing this tylosis and ultimately killing the tree. So this fungus is a nutritional symbiont of ambrosia beetles, and the main and primary vector is a red bay ambrosia beetle who cultivates the fungus to feed its own and the larvae. And so this is a very virulent fungus because it can reproduce really fast within the vascular system. So it becomes systemic and it just increases populations to the level that it induces this tylosis across the vascular system, blocking all the subflow. And the good thing is that this red bay ambrosia beetle does not like avocado. The bad news is that now there is 9 vectors, 9 naturalized and native ambrosia beetles carrying this fungus in southern Florida. This laurel wilt has caused devastation to natural ecosystems. We used to have a lot of native lauraceae, such as red bay and swamp bay and silk bay. And we still have sassafras, but it is starting to kill a lot of their populations. And so it has killed more than 500 million trees. It has caused really an apocalypse of lauraceae in the southern US. It has also killed a lot of avocados, as I mentioned, and also backyard avocados, which is really a thing here. Everybody that I know, around here has a backyard avocado, and a lot of them are dying. This is just how the production has decreased once the laurel wilt was detected. So obviously we lost trees, we also lost production. So what happens is that the beetle makes a gallery, and because it inoculates the gallery with the fungus, and this is ambrosia beetles, so they go all the way into the subwood, so into the xylem, and the fungus escapes and colonizes the xylem vessels, inducing the production of tylosis, which are evaginations of the xylem vessels, blocking the flow of water. And so this is a very common mechanism of defense that is preventing trees from decay and from systemic pathogens. However, in the American lauraceae, since these hosts have not evolved with the beetle and the fungus, because these are invasive in our area, seems like it's overreacting, right? At the beginning, it kind of doesn't notice that the fungus is colonizing the vascular system, but when it does, it just overly reacts, causing a lot of these tylosis. And so here you can see how through time, these vessels really close up. And the symptoms that you will see are the symptoms of drought, right? Because the vascular system is clogged. In the orchard, what happens is that the beetles, any of these 9 different beetles will inoculate one tree. And this is a vascular pathogen that can move from tree to tree through the roots being connected. So we call those root grafts. And a lot of the avocados are connected, especially here in South Florida, where the soil is really thin, and avocados have really superficial and extensive root systems. So it moves from tree to tree through the root grafts. All the cultivars have proven to die from the disease, including the king of the avocados, the Hass variety. And so you can see here 2 trees dead or on the way of dying because of laurel wilt. So this disease has been officially reported affecting avocado production only in Florida and Myanmar. However, the pathogen and the beetle are native to several countries in tropical Asia and subtropical Asia. And as you know, acreage is increasing, especially in China and a lot of places like India, Sri Lanka. They want to increase their avocado production, and perhaps that's going to be really a problem for them. And also it will increase the chances of sending their beetles to other places. So far, we know that there was only one introduction in 2002. However, the disease was not reported until 2004. Now, the disease, since it arrived in 2000, let's say since it was reported in 2004, it has spread through the Southeast enormously, going actually pretty north now, and is present in 12 states, as west as Houston. So now it's present in South Texas. But there's more territory to invade. Here you can see where the counties that are positive for Lauraceae, so they have a susceptible host, and the counties that are positive for laurel wilt. So there's still a lot of damage that this disease can cause. Of course, we are extremely worried about getting into California avocados, where 90% of the avocados are produced here in the US. And even though we have geographic barriers, as we know, these organisms can take a ride. We are also worried that it can get to Mexico, the biggest producer of avocados, either through natural corridors or through human or plant trade or product trade. And there have been some risk analyses showing that indeed Mexico has a good environment for the main vector. And the latest one is showing that even the native Lauraceae in these areas close to where avocado is being produced are also susceptible to the disease. However, we should not wait or rely that the beetle is going to move through natural corridors. Of course, this is, we have such a globalized world, and trading is really globalized. So I will not be surprised if we have new introductions either to the Americas or introductions to other places where avocado and native Lauraceae are distributed. So if this disease moves, especially into Central and South America, it can really devastate not only the avocado industry, which is very important for countries such as Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, Peru, Chile, but also it can have an effect, obviously a negative effect on this amazing diversity of Lauraceae that we have in the neotropics. So we do a lot of research at the station. Again, we are a transdisciplinary team trying to tackle all of the aspects about the disease. We have tried multiple things on management, even kind of solarizing stumps, hoping that the resprouts are going to be healthy. Nothing works so far. My lab is working every day, every hour, on multiple lines of research, trying to do germplasm screening, coming up with biological control agents, improving detection, surveillance, monitoring, and again, chemical control. So important. We are testing different types of fungicides. So we are a quite busy lab. Again, either we are planting seeds or we are killing trees. So that's what we do to figure it out how to solve problems and to understand diseases better. And with that, I will open to questions if there's any time, and thank you for listening. And if you want to know more, please follow us and just shoot me an email if you are interested in knowing more about these problems.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Romina. That was both fantastic and scary, since all of us do like our avocados. Do we have any questions from the floor? If you want to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, you can just pop that in there, and Romina can read it out and answer. Taking a step away from the avocado, I was curious as to one of your comments where you said, if I understood correctly, in the nursery industry, saprotrophic fungi are becoming a problem. How? I'm curious.
Yes. It's actually fascinating, right? So nurseries, they tend to overwater, number one, and fungi likes water and humidity. Nurseries, containerized nurseries like to crowd and like to use potting soil that has perhaps wood chips. And so the substrate is pretty appealing for fungi in general. So that type of environment of perhaps growing under shade houses with screens, with low air movement, so no much evaporation, you have a rich organic matter with some kind of woody material. It's the perfect storm, right? And a lot of nurseries don't sterilize their potting soil and are located in the middle of nature, right? We have nature everywhere here. And so more and more, I'm seeing problems with mushrooms popping from pots, right? Which I love, they're gorgeous. But for instance, we had a problem with a big nursery that they were trying to sell their pots to IKEA. You know IKEA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so IKEA wanted to sell these pieces of plants, right, for the living rooms and so on. But they were popping mushrooms on the pots, and they were really worried because there are kids in their stores, and they can go and eat it, and so it can have really bad publicity, right, for the nursery. So, and the problem with that is that not only the environment is conducive, but we don't have a way to manage. So as you know, there are not, recommended fungicides to drench for basidiomycetes. So it's very difficult to control. So I wish, maybe there are some students in the audience or some postdocs or some researchers that want to learn and do research on it, because it's definitely needed. And you will find, I'm sure, new records and understand dispersal, because these people are taking these plants home, right? And maybe the mushrooms didn't form, but the mycelium is there. So dispersal is really interesting as well from that point of view.
Yeah, cool. There's a question from Tom May here. Great presentation, Romina. Of those 1,000 cases that you deal with each year, how many do you end up lodging material in fungaria or culture collections?
Good question. Thank you. I don't. And I only do when I'm working on a disease. Let's say that I'm working on avocado scab, which I am, right? So sometimes I use samples that come through the clinic, and those get into my collection, and they get sequenced. The sequence get sent to GenBank, and I send representative cultures to ARS, or some kind of free, of course, repository of cultures. However, that is less than 1%, and that's pretty sad. I wish we can do more. I wish I can save every culture to do diversity studies, to do fungicide resistant or sensitivity studies, very important. I wish I can do more. It's just we don't have the resources. So we are, we have the sample, we photograph, we isolate, and good thing that I step away from that process because I want to keep all cultures, right? And good thing I had to step away because it's just not feasible. But yeah, so that's something to think about. We are a great resource for collaborators. And I always, I have some groups that I'm interested that I save. And I have collaborators that I share cultures with, but it's very limited.
Jordan Bailey also comments on that as she runs a culture collection and said saving dried plant material is less labor intensive, but also beneficial for plant disease records.
Yeah,
so
that would be good. Yeah.
You touched just briefly there on, again, the fungicide efficacy work that you're doing. Do you also have time to test then if it's affecting any of the beneficials or the trichodermas that you're trying to encourage or anything like that?
No. So for the, like I was showing you some images of trichoderma and laurel wilt, in that case, yes, because I know what my growers are using and I don't want, and they are not gonna not use fungicides, right? This is the tropics. There's no way you can grow something commercially not using fungicides. You may be able to go to the farmer's market to sell your mango, but if you want to really have boxes, you have to spray. And so I am testing those trichoderma against the fungicide that they commonly use. So, I'm not putting out something that is gonna die. But for the other ones, we do the testing through a federal program for minor crops. So it's an amazing program that give us money to do efficacy, crop safety, and residue trials so they can label those chemicals for the use in minor crops. And again, I'm talking about minor crops, right? So if you have Syngenta or Bayer, BSAF, they are going to put a lot of money if you work on soybean, corn, maize, because they are going to sell a lot, right? If you talk to a guava grower or a caimito or starfruit grower that has in total, in this area, 300, 600 acres, are they going to invest really their R&D group? No, right? So the federal government, the industry also gives some money for these trials. So what I do is I, set a plot. It has to be field conditions, and I spray and see what happens. So we don't do this compatibility with other products. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Romina. It's been really fantastic to hear. Thank you for the questions, for those who asked questions, and I hope this spurs new collaborations for you as well. And thank you for staying up late.
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't been to Australia yet. So, and then you guys are keen on biosecurity and New Zealand as well. So, yeah, hopefully this communication, grows into some collaboration. So
That'd be
thank you
fantastic.
for inviting me. And yes, I think I'm done for the day. So I'm ready to go home.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.